Well, hello there, my teacher friends. Welcome back to the Beyond Measure podcast. Christina Whitlock here, your host, voice of experience, and anytime piano teacher friend. I am back after an unplanned couple of weeks off. I seem to have hit my 5-year podcast anniversary, and then my brain just kind of shut down and needed a little bit of time to regenerate. I know many of you didn't even notice I was gone because life is crazy as ever, and you don't actually sit around waiting for this podcast to drop, right? But from my end, it was really difficult to stay away. I missed you. This weekly rhythm of writing and recording this show is something that grounds me, and I'm just grateful that you're here to share the journey with me. So, all that said, it's time for episode 235. Let's get on with the show. I want to talk today about playing our instruments and why it feels so hard to make time to do it. Maybe you don't struggle with finding time to play for yourself, but there are plenty of us, myself included, who slip into routines where we spend all our time teaching and communicating with families and taking care of life, and we don't prioritize taking time to sit down at our instruments and play. Rest assured, I am not here to guilt trip you today about your lack of practice time, so don't get panicky and switch to a different show. Hear me out here. The other day, one of my younger students looked over at a pile of music I had sitting in my studio, and he said, "Mrs. Whitlock, can you play every piece of music in that stack of books?" And I said, "Yeah, sure I can." And he got this big smile on his face, and he said, "So are there days when you just come in here and grab a book and play it, like just because you can?" It was so endearing and at the same time convicting. Because how many of us are taking time to sit down and play just because we can? This is a nagging thought that seems to bubble up for me this time of year, I guess, because almost exactly 1 year ago, I booked a creative coaching session with my friend, Meredith Height Estevez, and in a big leap of vulnerability, I agreed to let her air our conversation on her podcast, Artists for Joy. We talked about music as an expression of authenticity, which is something I've spoken of here before. But we specifically tackled my hangups about playing spontaneously for others. See, I talk a big game with my students. Like, I am the first one to encourage my students to put themselves out there, to share their music with others, because it's one of the greatest gifts we can offer, right? To work through their fears of judgment and perfectionism and just to do the thing, because the alternative, not playing, is just kind of sad when you can do it. But I struggle to take my own advice on this one, friends. I struggle. I'll link that conversation and a few other relevant episodes in today's show notes. But there was one big takeaway from that session with Meredith that I would like to share. I had mentioned a specific scenario. This is something that is familiar territory for many of you. But my husband and I were wandering around an art museum in Indianapolis. As we left, there was a piano in the atrium with a sign that said, "Play me." So, of course, Michael says, "Hey, go play something." And here I am, a girl with 2 piano performance degrees and all kinds of performance experience and knowledge and, a bona fide professional musician. And yet, I cannot make myself sit down at the piano and play. Are there all kinds of pieces that I can sit down and play at the drop of a hat? Sure. But in that moment, my inner voice was telling me that none of them were hard enough. And I hadn't warmed up and I hadn't prepared. And my brain short circuited and I just wanted to get out of that atrium as fast as I could. Again, this scenario is not unique to me. I have heard a lot of similar tales from my own consult clients over the years. There is something about this weight we carry as, quote, professional musicians and professional teachers that can rob us of the simple joy of playing our instruments, whether that's for others or just for ourselves. Now, these scenarios have bothered me for a long time. I can vividly recall many years ago attending this lovely neighborhood Christmas party and the host asking me if I would sit down and play We Wish You a Merry Christmas for everyone. Guys, I said no. And she was so surprised that I declined. And I feel regret for that moment to this day. If we are not willing to play, how do we expect anybody else to? Like, if not us, then who? So I had expressed these frustrations to Meredith in that publicly aired coaching session, and she surprised me with what she said next. I thought she was going to talk to me about self-compassion and a myriad of other mental hang-ups. But instead, she asked me what my practice routine looked like lately. I don't think I could do anything but blink for a few seconds. Like, my practice routine? What practice routine, right? She went on to explain that spending time with our instruments is like filling up a well. When we perform, we're drawing water out of that well. Then we work to replenish the well by practicing more. So by not spending any sort of dedicated time with my instrument in this season of life, it makes sense that I would panic when faced with a spontaneous opportunity to play. My piano well is dry. Like, there is no water there to draw from. And really, I would argue that the same is true of our teaching. Some of us have been teaching from a dry well for so long that we don't even notice anymore. We don't remember ever feeling excited to sit at our instrument and play. In Christian circles, we often talk about staying connected to the vine being God. Our words and our works risk being empty if we are not first establishing our connection to the vine through prayer and scripture study and other contemplative practices. I feel like as musicians, our love for music is like that vine. We can say and do all the music teachery things, but there is a difference when you are talking to someone who is actively in love with the process of making music versus when you talk to someone who is just going through the motions. As teachers, we have a responsibility to connect ourselves to the musical vine, to fill up our wells. Like, pick the analogy that works for you, but we owe it to ourselves and to those we are teaching to invest in our love for making music. It's what brought us to this point, to this career. And just like any relationship, that love needs nurturing to stay healthy. This thought that I, quote, should be able to sit and play something at the art museum is kind of ridiculous if I'm not taking the opportunity to connect with the piano that lives in my very own home, right? So the question is, why aren't we playing our instruments for our own enjoyment? One of the reasons I've been quiet here on the podcast for a few weeks is the fact that I've been doing a lot of my own inner work on my relationship with music and achievement and the way I learned to use piano from an early age to gain recognition from peers and adults whose approval I craved. I've been unpacking all kinds of memories where I used music as a way to prove my own worthiness. So much so, I began wondering if there was ever actually a time when I did just love making music. Was it ever just about making music, or have I been using piano as a vehicle to seek approval from others for my entire life? These questions were starting to spin me into a serious identity crisis. But then I happened to ask a new question that helped bring me back to center. I've been co-leading this study on intermediate piano teaching with my friend Jana Williamson this fall, and I recently asked members of our private Facebook group to recall their earliest memory of a piece that just made them feel like a real musician. As I sought to answer my own question, I was flooded with memories of many pieces that I just played over and over and over and over again because I loved them. I reminded the group about a piece in the old John Thompson book called Swans on the Lake. Oh, I loved that piece, and I used to go around singing it everywhere. I had some serious Mozart moments growing up, from the Bastian arrangements of his theme from the Sonata K331 to the theme from The Marriage of Figaro. I used to play those just over and over again. And then when I was in 7th grade, my teacher assigned me Mozart's D minor fantasy, and my little musician heart could hardly stand it. I squeezed every ounce of expression out of that piece, completely outside the confines of the classical era style. But wow, did I feel like a real musician. And all of those memories and many more just came flooding back as I contemplated my own question. And it reminded me that yes, I did love music when I was young. It was not all about seeking approval. Now, did I get a little lost on the journey as I got older? Definitely. But I am determined to get back to a place where I play for the sheer love of it, not because I need to prove anything. A big part of the problem is the challenge that comes from merging our creative outlets and our profession. And it gets really difficult to distinguish between the two, right? Now, I have a lot to say on that topic, and it's going to need its own episode. So stay tuned for that one coming up later this season. But the real challenge today is this. Friends, play your instruments. As my student suggested, get into your studio and grab a book from the pile I know you have sitting somewhere and play it just because you can. It doesn't matter if the pieces are too easy or too hard. Just play some music today and then do it again tomorrow. Even if it's just for 2 minutes, go do it. Get creative if you have to. True story, the last few weeks, when a student needs to run to the restroom, I play the piano. I play their music, I play my music, whatever I feel like doing. But that's a few minutes that I can reconnect with my instrument, and my students get the benefit of hearing me play. Many of us underestimate the importance of exposing our students to quality phrasing and solid playing. Using that time they're in the bathroom to squeeze in a little playing time is the ultimate win-win. So that's the goal, friends. Fill up your well. Reconnect to the musical vine. We have spent our lifetimes honing our skills as musicians. And yes, it's been a lot of work, but now it's time to enjoy the fruits of our labor, right? Like, who is with me? I'm going to wrap us up with a toast today while you make your way to your instrument. Studio teacher friends from all around the world. Today, we raise our glasses in recognition of the fact that many people envy the skills we possess. I know you hear it all the time too. Oh, I wish I played the piano. We've worked hard and we have earned the opportunity to sit down and play for our own enjoyment. Take a moment and picture the faces of those who invested in you and got you to this point. Maybe it's your parents who paid for lessons, or maybe it's your teachers who poured time and emotional sweat into your developing musicianship. Wouldn't those people love to see you sitting in your studio today, playing for your heart's own contentment? I think it's a beautiful picture, and I hope you find some time to play today for them and for yourself. Cheers to you and your efforts to reconnect with your unique abilities, my friend. Hear, hear. Okay, that's a wrap on episode 235, friends. Thanks for listening today. I really hope you will find a way to reconnect with music today, or anything that makes you feel the most like you. We all know that cliche remark about how you can't drink from an empty cup, right? I know that life is moving at lightning speed, but let's all commit to spending at least the tiniest bit of time doing the things that make life worth living. Deal? Deal. Be sure to check out the links in today's show notes for related episodes and other goodies. Onward and upward we go, my friends. Let's make it a great week.